Hello everyone and welcome back to another Bimmer Fixer video. I hope you had a nice Christmas and a lovely new year. So in this video I'm going to be talking to you about MOTs. So MOT in the UK stands for Ministry of Transport, and what it is, it's an annual inspection and test for all vehicles over 3 years old and under 3 tonne. And what they do is they test the vehicle to make sure it meets a minimum safety standard to be on the roads here in the UK. And they will check everything from lights, wipers, tyres, suspension, structural integrity, brake lines, you name it. They pretty much go through the whole vehicle. That said, there's a lot of things you can check at home before it goes into the test, and it can prevent you from getting a failure. And really simply too, it could just be a set of wipers or some bulbs. If you're lucky enough to have a nice garage, they may give you a call prior to the test. If they can see that the light's not working, they'll say, heads up, a few pounds, we can change a bulb for you, in which case fantastic, it'll pass. Some garages are slightly stricter, and if it fails, it fails. So what we want to do is just go through everything on the car that we can, that you can do quite happy at home on a driveway. You don't have to jack your car up or anything, and then go through anything like that, and then you can change out anything if you need to. Things that you can do on the road before you have a walk around the car and to have a look and inspect things are knocks from the suspension. That's not always a true indicator that something has completely failed and failed on MOT, as I know. I had a drop link that was knocking quite loudly and it still passed. But yeah, so just keep an eye out for things that are knocking and try and locate them and try and get it under wraps before the actual test. But what we'll do now is I'll run through the vehicle to check what we can, and go through what you need to look for before your test, and hopefully you get a pass. Okay, so checking lights at the front. Now, on the E60, we have the marker light, which the eyebrow might be flickering on camera, but it's not in real time. Indicator, dipped beams in the centre. The two halos that you can see are working just there are the side lights, and that's your full beam. And then we've got the fog light at the bottom. So there we go again, just check the indicator, flashing, halo, side lights, main beam, full beam, and fog light. If you're wondering why the hazards are flashing like they are, that's a mod that you can do on the E60. So this, instead of the normal, don't forget to check the side marker as well, or the side repeater. Yeah, it's a mod you can do on the E60. So instead of the usual pattern, it has the double pulse. Okay, so at the back we have, again, indicator, rear light here, both bulbs, and then your fog light in the center and reverse light. Now obviously in a manual you can just put it into reverse and it'll come on. You can do it in an auto, just make sure you don't start it. So put the ignition into position 2, then just select reverse, but just obviously make sure the engine's off and the park and brake or emergency brake is on. So there again, yep, indicator, both bulbs in the rear light, fog light and reverse light. Underneath, make sure both number plate bulbs are illuminated as well. And that's pretty much it. So what we'll do now is we'll check all the tyres, and I'll go through what needs to be done there. Okay, so when looking at your tyres, you need to make sure that the tread depth is a minimum of 1.6 across 3/4 width of the tyre. Now you will have wear indicators in between the tread, and when the tread lowers and meets that marker, they're at the legal limit. So for example, in this case, I needed 2 new rear tyres because they were on the limit. It just would have been an advisory or a fail, so it was just worth getting done. So you want to make sure they're also inflated to the correct pressure, and then just have a look around the full width of the tyre best you can on this side to make sure there's no chunks missing, no bulges, nothing like that. And then make sure that's all the same on all 4 wheels. Also, you have to forgive me for the state of the car. It is getting washed for an MOT, which is also something I would recommend before an MOT, is get the car cleaned. It sounds silly, but the MOT tester will, I think, look more favourably on the car if it's nice and clean and can see it's been looked after. So yeah, so make sure it's inflated, check for damage around the tyre best you can, and make sure it's above 1.6 of tread across 3/4 width of the tyre. Okay, so something that commonly gets missed in the checks for an MOT are fluid levels. So for example, you want to make sure you've got plenty of screen wash. When they go to test your wipers and there's no screen wash, they're not happy. So the last thing you want to do is upset the tester by having no screen wash. Then you want to check oil. Now in the E60, as you're well aware, and the M52, there's no dipstick. So you know the procedure. Check out my video if you need to have a look at your oil level in your N52. But obviously check the dipstick on any other car that you can. coolant as well, that's something else that can get missed. Obviously check it when the engine's cool, but we'll have a quick look at mine, because the last thing you want is to have your engine not running right because it's overheating. So yeah, that's just about there. I could probably do a topping up, but that's well within norms. And then we have your brake fluid as well. Now in this case, my brake fluid is underneath everything under here. And I know for a fact, after I checked it a couple of weeks ago, I've not had any issues, but yeah, do your best to check the brake fluid as well to make sure that's all up to level. Okay, next on the list are windscreen wipers. Now what you need to do, not only must they be clearing the window of no nasty streaks or missing anything, you want to make sure they're in good condition as well. So just run your finger along the rubber, make sure there's no tears or splits or anything, and you can just run around down the blade as well, just to get rid of any detritus and to give it a fighting chance to pass him. So do that on both sides, and then just check again to make sure that the wiper still cleans and gets a good sweep on the windscreen and clears all the water. Today is actually raining, so it's a good time to test, so we'll jump back in the car to make it too wet, and then we'll make sure they're clearing properly. Okay, so we'll check now to make sure the wipers aren't leaving any nasty streaks or making any horrible noises, which they're not. This is also a good time to check your windscreen. Actually, I would recommend checking it a few weeks before your MOT, but it's your actual windscreen or windshield. You want to make sure that there's no nasty chips or cracks. You can get away with anything under 10mm within the driver's view as a crack, but that will be an advisory. I think it's 40mm anywhere else, but any cracks or large chips, a lot of cases now you can pay your £70 excess and get your windscreen replaced. It's just worth it to try, and especially if you're aiming for a clean sheet and you don't want any advisories. So yeah, just have a look through the windscreen, check to make sure there's no cracks or nasty chips, especially within the driver's view. Okay, something else you need to check as well is the spray pattern on your windscreen washers, and to make sure they're not blocked or clogged, which is what I was about to do, but the heavens have absolutely just opened, so you can't really tell. I know they work and they're fine, but I want to show you the correct kind of spray pattern and what you're looking for. So before I do that or do any other checks outside, something else you need to do is also your seat belts. So you need to check all your seat belts. You need to make sure that they fully extend all the way out. You want to run it all the way through, and then when they go back, it needs to go back all the way on its own accord. And also you want to make sure that the inertia works on there as well. So that's that thud there. Okay, so pull them all the way out, make sure there's no tears, no damage to the actual seatbelt itself. They retract fully, and the inertia brake works. Do that for all of them. Okay, the rain's not showing any signs of stopping, so what I'll do, I'll clear the windscreen as best I can. So when we spray, you want to make sure that both jets, if you've got to, are working, and there's a good amount of fluid coming out of both, and they've got a good coverage across the windscreen. As you see there, on mine, they pretty much cover the whole windscreen, so that's what you're after. Okay, so while we're in the car, we're going to check the dash for warning lights. So we've got the handbrake and the airbag light, which will go out. That only comes on initially just to let you know that the actual light is working. MOT testers will look out for that. They will also look out for engine management light and other lights. They have to come on initially and then go out when there's no fault. If they don't come on at all, then they know there's been tape placed over the top. So then what we can do now is we'll just start the car up. Light goes out, take the handbrake off, and there's no lights there. So we know there's no problem there. And then also what we need to make sure is that there's nothing hanging from the rear view mirror. Okay, make sure that there's nothing there and the driver's line of view isn't obstructed, because that will also be an advisory if they're really particular, but they should just take it off. But it's just worth just getting it done before you have the test. Right, so the next thing we're going to check is the brakes. So first of all, we'll start with the parking brake or emergency brake. So what you want to make sure, if again you're in a manual, just make sure you've got your foot on the brake if you're ever taking the handbrake down. So you just lower it. You want to aim for about 3 or 4 clicks, and it meet a nice resistance there. And also if you're parked on a slope, you obviously don't want your car to roll away, so just make sure it's not rolling. But if you're finding it's excessive and it's coming right up to the top and it's not holding, that's going to be a potential issue. So just look at either adjusting your handbrake. If you've got an E60, check out my video on how to do that. But just a heads up, if you've got an extensive play on the handbrake and it's coming right up at a really steep angle, there's a good chance there's an issue there. So having a look outside. Now what you want to do is you want to best inspect the discs and pads as best you can. So in my case, again, if you want to have a look at the video on when I replaced these, they're in good shape. They look a bit rusty there, but there's no nasty lip, there's no real nasty gouges. You can't quite see, I don't think, but I've had a torch in there and had a look, and there's plenty of meat on the pad on there. On the rear, you want to do the same again. So just have a look at the disc again, making sure that there's no nasty lip on the disc, and no gouges. And if you can, have a look to see how much meat is left on the pad, which you can just, I think you can just about make out in there that there's, let's see, there you go, there's a decent amount on there. So while we're outside and we're getting soaked, last thing to really check, or one of the last things, is the car itself, the body. What you want to make sure is you want to make sure there's no bits of trim that are loose or hanging off. You want to make sure that everything's all secure. Now, as you know, the E60 largely is made of aluminium, so there's not a lot of rust, thankfully. But if you do suffer from rust, for example, like a good old Range Rover L322 on the wheel arches or anything like that, you want to make sure that it's not really jagged and could pose a risk to pedestrians either walking along or near your car, or if you are, heaven forbid, to have an accident, cause even more injury by loose or jagged trim on the car. So just walk around, make sure there's nothing loose, make sure that your mirrors are secure, and your glass isn't cracked or damaged and is secure and in place. And then just walk around the car, make sure that nothing is loose or could cause any damage. Also, while you're walking around, make sure that all your doors open and close properly and that they're secure, that they don't hang up when they close. And then finally, what you want to make sure, in my case you can't have a look, you can't see because it's absconded, but you want to check your number plate. So make sure that the font is the correct font, it's not illegal. Make sure that the letters are the correct size and it's in the right format. For example, 3D plates are illegal and will get pulled up on an MOT. So just make sure that the number plate is to spec. Something as well that people don't realise is the number plate actually has to have the address of the person that created the number plate on there. Otherwise that will get flagged up on an MOT as well. So I think that's all there is to it. Now, you can also look quite simply on the government website to have a look if this is your first MOT with that vehicle. You can have a look through the website to make sure there was no advisories, or in my case, if you want to keep track of the advisories and have a look, last year I got one for brake lines at the back being covered in grease, I think it was, so they couldn't really have a look. So I'm going to have a little look. I don't know if there's going to be much I can see or do, but I'll jack it up and have a look. But I won't bring you along for that because it's cold and wet and boring for you. Okay, so there we go. That's a few basic checks you can do on your car to limit the chances of it failing, and failing on something quite simple and cheap to repair. Only one thing I'd say again with the seat belts, when you test those again, also test the clip to make sure the seat belt is secured in the fastener and it doesn't pull out easy. That's just something else you need to do. So yeah, there we go. If you've got any questions about MOTs or anything else about BMWs or the E60 or anything like that, please feel free to ask away in the comments or send me an email. If you enjoyed the video, please get a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And please subscribe. Massive thank you to all my current subscribers. I really do appreciate it and can't thank you enough. So thank you very much, guys, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.